Hello everybody, this is Doc Eon welcoming you to my update video for Monday, the 13th of July, 2015. As usual, I'm kicking off with completed miniatures, and the only ones I've completed this week are all Malifaux. You're looking right now at some mole men that I have painted up. I should perhaps trim it on. The back sides are not that interesting. I have kind of highlighted the dark portions as well. I don't know if it comes across as well. I painted them mainly the same way as in the pictures on the word pictures, except that these sort of the bumps on their skin, they were painted kind of red, almost like pimples in the artwork, but I thought that seemed strange. I'm thinking these are mole men, they're digging through the ground. This guy's coming up from the ground, so their skin needs to be hardened, and I was thinking these protrusions might be places where the skin is hardened to rock, so I painted them gray instead. And then we have this, the Essence of Power, an avatar which can be used by most masters. It's not very good for Marcus, but I painted him up anyway. And I painted him differently than the artwork. The artwork is, as you can see, in the green range, but I've decided that this blue color is the sort of signature color for the Arcanists in my world, so I went with the blue instead. And speaking of blue, we have in blue shades these Horcats. You can see I've worked quite a lot on the basis for them. They're mostly white, but with some blue shading, the cats themselves, I mean. We can show some different angles. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with the scenery. The models themselves are really simple and not that exciting, honestly, because in these plastic kits, the texture on the fur is kind of shallow, so shading them is rather difficult. But let's move on and see what's still on the table to be completed. I have to point out that I realized I misspoke when I referred to the Essence of Power as an avatar. It's not an avatar, it's a totem. And it's not a very good totem for Marcus. This here, the Jackalope, is the exclusive totem for Marcus. And as you can see, I've assembled him and put him on a base and primed him. This is one of those micro art bases I showed you a while back. It's an example of why the plastic is actually sometimes better than resin, because what I did to put him, he's standing on one foot and it's a very thin leg. I could never have pinned that, I could never have drilled into that, so I had to use the tab that was on him that was designed for use in a slaughter base, but I trimmed that down into a sort of nub or a wedge, and then I carved out a piece of the base. I just used a knife and dug into the plastic to make room for that, and I super glued into place, and then I did some gap filling, and it's not perfect. It looks a bit wonky if you look too closely at it, but it'll do. The tricky thing here is the antlers. They were separate. Both of these antlers are separate pieces that I just there's just shallow indentations that I super glued them into. First time I drop this on its head, it's going to break off. We'll have to see how I paint it. This is the illustration. It's just kind of light brown and boring. I'll see if I can come up with something more interesting. Moving on, I'm going to show you this guy. He looks a bit weird, doesn't he? This is the alternate sculpt of Marcus, and I decided to make him really alternate. I mean, I've already got a Marcus model, why not make this one really, really different? And the picture here is Well, it's artistic with all the purple, but it doesn't look like the clothes are actually purple. It just looks like they're in deep shadow because he's not in much light. But that inspired me in combination with, I was watching a video about painting drow, you know, with black skin and white hair. And so I got the idea, the combination of ideas that, okay, if this is the alternate sculpt of Marcus, why not make him really crazy and do black skin, white hair? And I went with a purplish black. Now this is an experiment. I'm not sure if this is readable on a tabletop because I've gone kind of subtle with the highlights. The thing is, if you highlight up a really dark skin like this, it becomes very cartoony. But perhaps that's better for gaming? I'm not sure. We'll have to see once I paint in the eyes and the teeth and the other stuff around. We'll see how it looks. And I might go back and touch up the skin and make it lighter in the highlights. But I'm not rushing this guy because, again, as I already have a Marcus, there's no need for this guy as a gaming piece, so I'm going to take my time and do it properly. What else do we have in the way of Malifaux? Well, I picked up this kit, the old metal Horcats. You know, remember I told you that the Horcat Pride represents a whole swarm of cats. So in the old kit, that was the way they were presented. 3 small cats on a big base. And I've started on those. These are practically identical, and yeah, you see I've shaded them with my standard Arcanist blue. This is the Andrea blue from Vallejo. These are pretty much done already. I mean, it's just a matter of going in and painting some details and then sticking them on the base. And for that, I've decided to go with another Micro Arts base, a 40mm forest base. This is one that's kind of awkward for use with normal minis, but with these small guys, I can just sort of place them at different places around the base, and I think it's going to look good. Hopefully, yeah. What else have we got going? Well, we've got Evelyn here, who is mostly just base coated. I've completed like 35–40% of her. I'm thinking of making a rather strong OSL effect here, and I'm considering how to experiment with that. I'm thinking of before doing the OSL, finding some test subject, something I can try it out on, maybe a bones miniature or something that I don't care about. See what it looks like, but we'll see. So, what else? Do I have anything else lined up? Well, I have a couple of models here, but the thing is, I'm currently waiting on delivery of a bunch of miniatures that, when they arrive, will immediately jump to the top of the queue and be prioritized for painting. So I don't want to start too many other projects, but if I finish everything else that's on my table and nothing else new has arrived, then I've got a couple of Malifaux kits. First, the Malifaux Raptors, which are Arcanist beasts, very good with Marcus, the 2 big birds of prey. See here? And the other, you can't see the text here, it's the Slate Ridge Mauler, which is a huge bear. This is in multi-parts with 6 limbs. He's got like 6 legs, or, well, yeah, 6 legs. And he's got spikes growing out of him. So some just sort of mutant bear. Well, a Malifaux bear. That's the prestige projects I have going. Let's take a look at the bones section. Moving into the realm of bones now, and seeing what's completed there. I've done these two kelpies and the hag. These are kind of rough estimates of, yeah, rather quickly completed. I did the ghasts. They turned out a little bit dark, perhaps, with this purplish. I want to go for sort of bruised, undead look. This purplish skin. Like I said, maybe a little bit too dark, but no matter. It's okay. And finally, we have this little horde of skeletons crawling over each other, which was a really simple paint job. And the skeleton lord, just a bit on his throne of bones and some rock. Well, it's mostly carved out of stone, but with a lot of bone details on it. And you'll see the sword is a bit crooked, but there was no way to fix that, unfortunately. And yeah, that's them. And yes, I still have all of these left to do. I haven't felt the inspiration for the Cthulhu guy or the fish folk or any of these. I'm thinking I might have to go look for inspiration if it doesn't come to me naturally. The thing you can do if you don't know how to paint something is you can go out and look for reference. I mean, I can just Google brightly colored fish and get tons of images that I can try to steal ideas from to paint figures like these. The only issue with that is this guy, because if you Google Cthulhu, you're going to find a lot of paintings that are very, very dark and very monochromatic. And they might look striking as paintings, but they're kind of boring as miniatures. So, still don't know what to do there. Anyway, I've also prepared a bunch of humans, mostly humans. This guy here is an elf. I think you can tell from his ears. So they've been primed, and as is my habit, I've started out on them by working on their bases and the metallics. And I have no idea how long these will take if if the inspiration strikes me, it could happen quickly. In any case, I thought I'd bring out some more unusual bones to fire up my enthusiasm. Namely these. What the heck are these clear pieces of plastic? Well, these two lumps are just slimes. They're slimy things crawling along the ground. I'm thinking I might paint the bottoms like a dungeon floor, stone floor or something, and then just use some washes or glazes to make them seem like, I don't know, a green slime or yellow ochre or whatever they're called. This thing though, this is the gelatinous cube. This is supposed to be glued together like so. I'm thinking I might need something stronger than just super glue for that. And see, it's hollow, and there's a bottom piece to it, which is also transparent, but most of it is actually supposed to be painted as the remnants of previous victims. You can see probably the imprints of weapons and armor and gear and skeletons. So most of this is not supposed to be clear, it's supposed to be painted. So that's kind of a fun thing to do. And that concludes the bones section for this week. Well, looks like I'm catching up, doesn't it? Though I've got to warn you that could change at a moment's notice. I suspect I'm going to have to make some more investments this summer into new minis. Anyway, I've learned this past week that I shouldn't try to make predictions, or rather, maybe that I am prophetic. You remember I talked about Age of Sigmar, and I actually praised GW because they put out free rules, and I thought this was a change for them. And then I also said that I was going to retract that praise if it turns out that this was just a bait and switch, that they were going to put out a big fat rulebook later with, you know, mostly fluff and costing tons of money. And what did they announce less than a week after I said that? Oh, GW, you're never going to change, are you? Well, doesn't matter. I mean, I'll keep an open mind, and if I hear good things about those rules, I might pick up a copy. You never know. And if they put out better looking miniatures than what they've shown so far, you know, I might pick up some of them, even though they are hideously overpriced. But the way things are looking right now, no, there's not going to be any Games Workshop in my future. But that's fine, I've got plenty of other things to occupy me. So, that was this week's update. I've got other videos coming up. Please take a look at my other videos. I've put up lots of reviews and first looks, and I have some more lined up this week. I have at least one review that I know I'm going to do, and another that I hope I will get to. And as always, I'll do first impressions of new stuff that shows up. So until next video, this is Dr. Jan, signing off.